Hello, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. Today we are going to be doing a full day review and wear test of the new Benefit Porefessional foundation. I also have the new baked powder from Saie, and I also have the new Charlotte Tilbury Unreal Lip Oils. So we're going to be playing with all of these today and sharing my thoughts. So first we'll start with the Benefit Porefessional foundation. Now this has a 6-month shelf life and is made in Italy. This is available in 40 shades and it does retail for 64 Canadian dollars. I believe that's around 45 US, and you do get the standard 1 fluid ounce of product in here. Now on the box it says this is going to be a medium buildable coverage, natural matte finish, 24-hour long wear, all day pore blurring, non-comedogenic, waterproof and transfer proof, and feels weightless and looks seamless. Now one thing to mention, I will be testing this on the boat today, so I'm really going to put it through the paces in terms of that waterproof term. Not that I tend to get fully wet when we go out on the boat, but it definitely does do a number on my makeup. So we will be putting it through that test as well. I did grab the shade 2N Fair Neutral. So this is what the packaging looks like. It is really pretty. It is pretty weighted. It is a heavy glass bottle. The lid also has this cute little dip out of it, and then you do have a nice pump here. It is just a plastic lid and pump. But let me pin the hair back. I'll zoom you in, and then we can get to putting this on the face. All right, so I just pumped out a little bit on my palette, and you can see it's pretty liquidy, a little bit more liquidy than I expected. It also looks pretty yellow, which is a big pet peeve of mine. I do have very fair skin. I also have a neutral, cool leaning undertone, but it really does bother me when shades that describe themselves as neutral end up being yellow. It is a common gripe of mine. But let me start with my BK Beauty 101 and get into this foundation. Now it is currently about 9 a.m. So I am going to be wearing this for a good portion of the day, definitely not 24 hours. Yeah, that's really more yellow than neutral, but it definitely has a fragrance as well. It kind of smells pretty chemically, if you ask me. It kind of reminds me a little bit more of Maybelline in terms of that scent. We're definitely getting some good coverage. Yeah, this really looks great in terms of that coverage. So I should be wearing this until around 7 or 8 tonight. It kind of depends. If we get off the water pretty late, then I could be wearing it even later, but we will see. Okay, this does look really, really nice actually. So this is 1 layer with, and then of course without. Now the shade is a little bit yellow leaning, which drives me crazy. I really should have gone with the lightest shade. I just thought it'd be too fair, but turns out it would have been perhaps a little better. However, I can mix in my Dior Star Filter with this to even out the shade. I could even mix in a different foundation if I wanted to. I mean, the shade's not terrible. It's just a little bit more yellow than I would like. Okay, it's not drying too quickly. It has a little bit of a tack to it, but I don't feel like my hair is fully going to be sticking to it. It does look very, very smooth. I can still see my pores through here, but it does look very smooth on the skin, and it did blend out very, very quickly. Okay, I do like that. And I should mention, I just prepped my skin with this little sample size that I've been using of the YSL Touche Claw Blur Primer. I am almost out of my Rough Intense Hydration Cream, so I kind of switched to the YSL for a little while so I can make my rougher last a little bit longer. I haven't been able to find it in stock on their website, and I know they're changing things up, so I thought I would kind of hold on to it for a little bit. But that is still my absolute favorite hydrating base. And again, if you're new here, I do have a dry skin type in the winter especially. I am very dry, but we're currently in the middle of summer. We just finished up a very, very warm heat wave. It finally broke the other day, but it is still pretty hot out. This is looking really, really nice and perfecting on the skin, I have to say. I am seeing that skin-like finish with that very natural looking dry down. I do think it has a bit of a soft matte to it, but I am seeing a bit of a glow in the center of my face. I don't know if I would agree that it's weightless. It's not super heavy by any means, but I can definitely feel something there. But I do really like how my skin looks, and I'm loving the coverage. I do have a bit of a breakout going on down here, and it covered that beautifully. For concealer, I'm going in with the IT Cosmetics Do It All Radiant Concealer. I have mine in the shade Ferris Cool 115. They did send this to me, but I have been loving this concealer. So this does have sort of that floofball applicator, kind of like the Maybelline Age Rewind, but it is flat, so it is a little bit easier to get in here and apply. This is definitely more of a radiant concealer. It's not super glowy, but it is thinner. It's more on the serum kind of side of things, but it blends out beautifully and it gives the prettiest amount of coverage. Just adding a little bit to the eyes as well. And I've just been really enjoying this. I find that this really wears all day long. It stays in place. It stays perfect. It's very crease resistant, but it is also very hydrating and just very lightweight and comfortable. I feel like a little bit goes a long way. The shade is perfect for me as well if you're near my skin tone. I wasn't honestly sure how I'd feel about this, especially given my insane love for my Natasha Denona concealer. I think that one still is my top spot. This one I would say has more of a medium coverage, but it does blend out so quickly and effortlessly. If anything, this formula kind of reminds me of the new MAC Studio Radiance concealer that I do really like, but it just blends out so quickly and seamlessly. But I really love it for day to day. If you want a good lightweight concealer that will give you a nice medium coverage, this is a really nice one. I feel like it may get overlooked because of the packaging, but don't overlook it. It's a really nice one. Getting into the Saie Slip Tint Undetectable Baked Powder. This retails for 48 Canadian dollars. I believe that's around 30 to 35 US. I will pop those details up on the screen so I'm not just guessing. But this does have a 12-month shelf life and is made in Italy. It does not have talc. And I have the shade Translucent 1. This is available in 5 different shades. This is supposed to be a talc-free, lightweight, translucent powder that sets makeup undetectably for 8 hours, while also smoothing, brightening, and blurring your complexion. This is supposed to have a natural finish. It's in very similar packaging as their blushes, but a little bit bigger. So I'm just going to take a little bit on my powder puff, and I've just tapped a little bit off on my hand. Make sure I tap out any potential creases under there and sort of tap this into the under eyes. I have been wearing this a few times and I do have some overall thoughts. First off, the shade Translucent 1 I feel like really isn't very translucent. I feel like it does add a tint to my skin and I think it's almost a little bit deeper than I would like. So I don't know that the shade is perfect. Applying it to my under eyes like I just did, I do think it looks really nice. I do think it gave a blurred effect. I do feel like it set everything down. Like I mentioned, I don't feel like it's truly translucent because I feel like I can see where I put that powder. I can see that color. Another thing to mention is that this powder says it has a natural finish, and I would agree with that because it's not the most mattifying powder. It definitely does retain a radiance, and I think you can see that because even though I've gone over this area, I feel like you can still see a little bit of a shine there. So it is going to give you that more natural radiant finish. It's not glittery by any means, but it does have that soft radiance to it. I do think if you have oily skin, this may not do it for you. Okay, I just want to apply under the other eye with a brush because I think that may have to be my method of application given that I feel like the shade is a little deeper and it kind of shows up when I use a puff. So just smoothing those out and then just fluffing that on the under eye area and just sort of pressing into the skin. Okay, so the shade is definitely much more undetectable when I use a brush. I do feel like the side where I used a brush is a little bit more blurred and I feel like it retains a little bit less radiance. I'm gonna go over down here and then just a little bit on my forehead. The foundation still has a little bit of a tack to it. Nothing crazy. It's really more like a moisturizer kind of feel. It's not super dry, but it's not sticky. It's not going to make my hair shellac to my face by any means, which is very important to me that it does not do that. But otherwise, so far I've been enjoying this powder quite a bit. I do think it kind of locks things in. I do think it does keep everything wearing all day long, but it does have that soft radiance. So I think if you have an oilier skin type, you're not going to like this. I don't think this is going to be effective enough for you. If you're looking for a powder that is truly matte, you'll definitely want to skip this. And I can see some people using this as more of a finishing powder than an actual setting powder. Okay, let me quickly pop off camera. I will finish up the rest of my makeup and then I will come back and we can get into these lip oils. All right, so the rest of the makeup is now on, except for lips, because we are going to talk about those lip oils. I do just want to mention quickly, I used one of the new Hourglass palettes on my eyes, one of their new eyeshadow palettes, and my last video before this one was actually reviewing the new Hourglass eyeshadow palettes, and I feel like even though I liked them, I was a little bit tougher. I kind of said, you know, I don't think there's anything that justifies the price point of those, and I feel like I just got so much validation from that because when I went into this, my lid completely broke off, and now I'm a little mad because these are really pricey. So I just wanted to mention that the packaging on these is not very well made. All right, let's get into these lip oils from Charlotte Tilbury because these are the Unreal Lips Healthy Glow Nectar Oil lip oils, and there are 6 different shades. These retail for, I believe, $25 US or 30 for Canadian. These are each made in Italy and have a 12-month shelf life. So these are supposed to be a glossy lip oil with a sheer, juicy looking glow, infused with fruit essence, hyaluronic acid, and vitamin E, and have a lip-hugging gel applicator for an all-over glaze and just one swipe. Now the 6 different shades, we have Pink Watermelon, which I have, and this is going to be a sheer candy pink tinted lip oil with pH-powered filter tech. Strawberry Vanilla is a sheer cool pink tinted lip oil with pH-powered technology. And the other 4 are not pH powered. I did end up getting both of the pH shades. So there is Coconut Water, which is a sheer mirror shine clear oil. Cherry Glaze, which I have, is a sheer cherry red tinted lip oil. Pure Peach is a sheer peach. And Candy Fig is a sheer berry russet. Now, like I mentioned, I have Strawberry Vanilla, Pink Watermelon, and Cherry Glaze. Each one has a different scent to it. So between a Strawberry Vanilla and Pink Watermelon, there really isn't a big shade. Watermelon is in the middle, Strawberry Vanilla is on the bottom. There really isn't a huge shade adjustment there. They are basically just pink shades, and once on the lips, they should just adjust to essentially a bright pink. The Cherry actually does have a bit of a different shade to it. There is quite a bit of a tint to that one. The 2 pink ones both smell amazing. I don't actually like the cherry fragrance, but I do like the shade. So we'll try them all on, even though 2 of them look very similar. This is Strawberry Vanilla, and it does smell very, very good. It does smell like strawberries and vanilla. I get a little bit more strawberry here. The applicator does have that sort of gel applicator, so it really is more of a jelly consistency. It's not too hard, but it does have that slanted hugging tip. So this is Strawberry Vanilla. It will sort of adjust to a brighter pink, but this one, it does smell, like I said, really, really nice. It does feel very balmy, very comfortable on the lips. They don't feel too sticky. I would say the texture is, I want to say, a little bit thicker, a little bit more balmy than the Summer Fridays lip butter balms, but not quite as buttery and thick as the Ole Henriksen Pout Preserve. They're definitely thicker than the Tower 28 lip balms. They do feel really, really nice on the lips. I will say that. They definitely do feel like a balm oil hybrid. And I do think there is a ton of shine here. Let me take this off and we can get into the Pink Watermelon. Okay, Pink Watermelon is probably my favorite because the smell I like the most. It really does smell like watermelon Jolly Ranchers. It smells so nice. I feel like the tint is slightly different on the lips, but it's not vastly different. I think it still looks really, really nice. So I think the tint does look a little bit different on the lips than it did from Strawberry Vanilla. It's not hugely different. I would say it's a little bit darker, but overall I really don't think you're going to notice a huge difference between the two shades. I definitely don't think you need both, but I do really like this one and I do love the watermelon scent. Finally, getting into Cherry Vanilla. My lips are getting a little bit more pigmented just from applying and rubbing off the product, but this is the Cherry Glaze. Now, I don't actually like the scent of this one. I just don't like a cherry scent in general, but if you do like a sweet cherry, you might really, really like this scent. I would say the shade of this one is the most different. I don't think it's a glaringly obvious red. It's still very sheer, but it does add a little bit of something extra. Not vastly so, but it is different than the first two. So I really do like this cherry shade quite a bit. I like that it's just a little bit brighter. I like the shade of it quite a bit. I think it's really pretty. I feel like these lip oils kind of got a lot of negativity because the packaging looks inexpensive. I don't mind the packaging necessarily. I kind of like it, especially with the little fruit on the front because it kind of indicates to me which is which because I do have multiple. I think these are a really, really nice formula, and I think if you love a good balmy lip oil, you might really like these. I think though that you don't need multiple shades. I would say just grab the scent or the color that you think you're going to like the most. Very light emphasis on color because they're always going to be very sheer. They're really not going to be much different than one another. So I really just go with the fruit or scent that you like the most. I still want the peach because I do love a good peach, but watermelon has to be my favorite for the fragrance. Cherry is my favorite of the shades that I purchased though. So those are my thoughts on the lip balms. The foundation is actually looking really, really nice. I feel like it has dried down. It hasn't dried down to a flat matte. It's more so just a comfortable skin-like natural finish, and I do think it looks nice. It doesn't feel heavy. I noticed when I first put it on, I don't sense that it's weightless. It's not heavy, but I don't think it's weightless. Whereas now it is feeling very, very lightweight and comfortable. I don't feel like I'm wearing a mask, which is important to me as well, and I don't feel like it's taking any moisture out of my skin. I feel like it's just evening me out and sort of perfecting the skin. I do feel like we have a blurring effect. I do feel very perfected and flawless. And so far, the only things I don't like about this are the shade. So I really should have gone with shade 1. And I do not like the fragrance. The scent really does remind me of a lot of Maybelline foundations. I love Maybelline foundation. This is not a jab at them, but particularly their skin tint and their new Lumi Matte foundations. Those are both amazing products, but they have a pretty potent scent, and that's what this reminds me of, and I don't like that. But otherwise, I am really, really liking this so far. And even though the shade isn't quite right, I do think it works. I don't think I look yellow, but let me go about the rest of my day. I will try to show you what this looks like in natural lighting, and then I'll go about the rest of my day. Like I said, we are planning to go out on the boat, so this will really be put to the test between getting splashed with water on occasion and also applying sunscreen. I've been using the ultraviolet preen screen that I have been loving for sunscreen reapplication, so I will be adding that on top. So I anticipate this will look a little bit glowier by the end of the day, but I'm hoping it will stay put. Alright, so just stepping into natural lighting, I feel like the glow is a little bit more pronounced, but I still think my skin looks really smooth and really nice. That powder really does leave a radiance though, I think you can tell. However, I do think my skin just looks overall really, really nice, definitely perfected. I'm not seeing anything I don't want to see, and I feel like it gave me a really nice amount of coverage without me needing to use concealer in a lot of extra spots. So I think the foundation is really, really nice so far. Feels very comfortable, my hair is not sticking to my face, and I just really like the finish. So I will go with the rest of my day, and I will see you guys at the end. It is currently about 10:30. All right, we have reached the very end of the day. It is currently 9:22. So the foundation has now been on for almost 12 hours, and it's still holding up pretty good, and it's been through a lot. My nose and my chin, which are my obvious suspects, have definitely worn down. They are the usuals. My chin always gets worn off from resting my hands, from eating. My nose, I also have a weird habit of touching a lot. So for that reason, those always wear down quickly. Otherwise, the foundation is still very much in place. I will say this area right here is looking pretty heavy, and that's where I applied that powder with a puff. The side where I applied with a brush actually still looks really nice. So this issue is definitely due to the powder. I feel like the foundation, when it first dried down, it had a bit of a glow to it, and I think it maintained that glow, but it wasn't overly glowy and shiny. I think it's really more of a natural finish where it's not glowy, but it's not super matte. It just gives that sort of hydrated skin look. That being said, it still gave me a medium buildable coverage. I got a really great amount of coverage from this foundation, but it didn't feel like a mask. I wouldn't say that it's completely weightless, but it is definitely incredibly lightweight and comfortable on the skin. There have just been some foundations that I've tried recently where I actually forget that I'm wearing anything. This isn't that, but it is still very lightweight. As for the blurring claims, I'm not 100% sure that I see that personally, but I definitely feel like this is very hydrating, and it has my skin looking very smooth, hydrated, and plumped up, so it does look really, really nice. As for the waterproof claims, I definitely got splashed a few times today from when we hit some waves on the water. I was also applying my ultraviolet preen screen, so my little spray-on sunscreen, and it seems to have held up through that as well. It really did withstand everything I threw at it today, so I'm really happy with that as well. I don't think it's 100% transfer proof because I did touch my face with my sleeve a couple times, and some foundation did come off on that, so just something to mention. It doesn't feel like it fully 100% dries down, but it does just kind of feel like you have a moisturizer. It's not sticky where your hair is going to be sticking to your face or anything like that. But overall, this really does have a really nice natural finish. It is, of course, very long wearing, and I would say it is absolutely very water resistant. It takes a lot of hits and stays in place and stays looking flawless. The only thing I don't like is, of course, the scent, which smells very strange to me, and also the shade. This does say it's a neutral shade, but it pulls very yellow, and I can notice that on my skin, so I do wish I had gotten a lighter shade. As for the powder, I think if you have an oily skin type, you're not going to like this because it does, of course, have a certain radiance to it. I think if you're also someone who wants a matte setting powder, you won't like this because this does, of course, leave a radiance on the skin. Also, it's pretty important, I think, that you don't apply this with a powder puff because where I did that, it just looks so heavy. So applying with a brush was definitely the way to go. This side definitely looks a lot better. I also think that this might be better used as kind of a finishing powder, as more of a light veil over everything when you're done, just to add a little bit of brightness back to the skin, but not to actually set anything. I do feel like it helped to set my concealer, but there are powders I think that do a better job, and I really think this honestly is more of a finishing powder situation with the radiance. And as for these lip oils, I do think they're really nice. I really like the formula. They're very comfortable on the lips. They're very hydrating. They're super glossy, and they also smell really nice depending on what shade you get. So the strawberry, vanilla, and the watermelon are, of course, pH adjusting, so the shades will change a little bit, but overall they're pretty sheer, so you would not be able to tell the difference between the two of them on the lips. The cherry is a little bit more distinguishable, but I don't like the scent of this one as much. I just don't like a cherry scent personally. However, they are a really nice formula. I really do like them. I don't like them more than my Ole Henriksen lip balms. Those are my holy grails. I probably like them as much as the Summer Fridays. I love that they're not sticky. I love that they feel balmy and hydrating, but also just super shiny and glossy. I think they're beautiful, and I love that they smell nice. So if you were interested in purchasing one of these, I don't think you'd regret it. They are really nice. Just, I don't think you need to buy multiple shades because they are all very sheer. So I would just recommend picking the shade or the scent that you're going to like the most. But all in all, my favorite thing I tried today was definitely the foundation. This was definitely a success. I don't like the shade and I don't like the scent, but otherwise this was a fantastic foundation and I will absolutely continue to wear this and really enjoy this one. So I am really happy this was a win, but let me know all of your thoughts down below. Do you have any questions maybe I didn't quite answer? Let me know all of your thoughts. Are you picking up any of these? Are you skipping them? Let me know that too. I love hearing from you guys so much. If you're new here, I hope you'll consider subscribing before you go. I do upload new videos every single week. Thank you again so very much for watching, and I will see you in my next one.